All right, guys. Today we have on Threadguy, who, as many listeners probably know, is, I would say, one of the kind of breakout media stars of this cycle. Also, somebody a bit younger, I think, generally embodies the newer generation of crypto and has really, taken off in terms of, I would say, kind of bridging the chasm between crypto and now TradFi. And Threadguy, welcome. Okay, I gotta ask you quickly. I should know this. Where does the name Threadguy come from? I don't know why I don't know that already.
First of all, thanks for having. I mean, I'm just like a fan, so
Okay.
I appreciate you. I was pretty hyped you invited me on.
Should have done it earlier, honestly.
No, I was hyped you invited me on. Also, I sort of think I'm like the embodiment of. I feel like I like grew up on crypto Twitter, like became like a human on CT.
Yeah,
so this is the final product. This is what you get. But the real quick long story is in 2021, I made a Twitter account for crypto specifically. I just dropped out of college. I had like a semester to figure out how to make money. And I figured the easiest way was to get popping on CT and maybe leverage a job through that. And so I didn't know how to trade. I didn't know anything about crypto. I didn't know how blockchain worked. I knew nothing, but I did know how to write. And I was interested in trading collectibles, sports cards, found NFTs. And so I just started writing like basically pre-GPT, but GPT slop summaries of the most popular NFT projects, what they were doing, why they're important. And every one of those threads would get me a couple hundred followers. And it was how I started to grow a platform. And so I like made a joke one day and I changed my name to like Threadguy because at my hometown, like high school private Twitter, everybody would change their name all the time. Like I would change it like Lakers 2026 champions. I would change it all the time. And I made it Threadguy one day before a big thread. And then everybody was like, oh, Threadguy. And I'm like, fuck, I'm stuck with this shit now. So I've come to accept it and I've come to like it, but I hated it at first.
That's funny. Like it's the most intuitive naming. It's like because he writes threads, and the answer is because he writes threads. Well, okay. So then, early NFT projects writing threads. Did you have any? Do you have any fondness for any of those early ones? Like what NFT projects were you keen on in the early days?
I mean, it sounds so ridiculous to talk about it now, but I mean,
that's why we're talking about it.
NFTs changed my life, and I remember pretty early I got a job just so I could stay out of college at this DeFi NFT lending protocol called Floaty. It was on a Flow blockchain. Shout out to Michael Levy if you're watching, my goat. And it was basically exclusively to collateralize like NBA Top Shots. That was it. Get money, loan, borrow against whatever DeFi on Top Shots. And they hired me to write the Substack. And at the time, bro, I knew like if I knew nothing now, I knew nothing about anything that was going on there. Again, you didn't have GPT, so I had to figure out like, what does it mean to borrow? What does it mean to lend? And how does collateral work? And like, what is TVL? And how does all this stuff work? And so I kind of got my feet wet with Floaty like in the early days. And my whole goal the whole way, because I was really playing the social game, was how do I get a Mutant Ape NFT? How do I get it? Once Ape follow Ape and Apes together strong, I want to be the man. And so early Nifty Gateway days, if you remember Nifty Gateway, like late 2020, Xcopy had an open edition mint for the NFT called Afterburn. It was $999 for an Afterburn, and there was like 3,000 minted, 4,000 minted. It was Xcopy open. Imagine peak 21, there would have been a million of them. But I minted a couple. I had my dad mint one. I think my dad is the only person who minted an Xcopy and sold it at a loss. Dad, I love you. And like peak 21 mania, I traded it for a Mutant Ape NFT, which became my online persona for a while. But I just remember like I have this video on my phone of 2021. I was using a platform where you could trade NFTs. I forget what it's called now. Super like sketch, sus, connect my wallet, they connect theirs, trade it one for one. And I have my hand on the cursor, like shaking, about to get this Mutant Ape PFP. So it was a very fond memories of the NFTs, despite, I guess in hindsight, it was pretty obvious how this would age.
Do you still have your Mutant Ape?
I do. It's on a ledger.
Just sitting there. What's your NFT now? What's your PFP now?
It's Jack Butcher. It's Jack Butcher. Pepin. Yeah.
You had the Bitcoin puppet. I had
the puppet for a while. I love those.
Yeah. But those have turned the exact same way as.
No, but we came to about 70, and I checked the price.
Really?
In a while. I started doing some math. I'm like, all right, these things go back up. Who knows? Ordinals is like a fever dream. I sort of pretend we didn't do, but it was a fun time.
Yeah, Ordinals was the thing was it didn't really have anything very unique from the original NFT boom, I think. And so people had more or less learned their lesson. I mean, there was a few early runners, I guess, in Ordinals, but like it wasn't going to persist because the game of hot potato had been learned more or less.
To me, Ordinals were the precursor for people are ready to get risk the fuck on again, though. Like it was before, like I remember recalling correctly, it was like early 24, and people were ready to like let's go, let's run this pre-Solana complete mania. It was like we're ready to buy, and there's nothing to buy, so we're ripping node monkeys.
So then you kind of transitioned into meme coins, and honestly, I think that's when I mostly found your account or first heard of you. Let's call it. Like what are your biggest takeaways from Solana meme trenches? Do you still trade meme coins? Are there meme coins to trade? I honestly
haven't traded an on-chain coin in a while. I think the last thing I clicked was Moltbook, which was ridiculous.
Oh yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
No.
One of my takeaways.
The glory days, right?
I mean, man, it's just like such a loaded topic. It was an unreal time. I was here. My Twitter account was created August 2021. So if you look at Dune dashboard of OpenSea Vault, that was the craziest month ever for NFTs. But I didn't have any money. I had no experience. I didn't know how any of this worked. I didn't know what a bubble was. Like I just didn't understand what was really happening, what I was living through. And so I didn't make that much money on it. I did fine, but I really just tweeted more than I was trading. I wasn't trading. I don't know. I just didn't understand like what this was. And 2024 comes around. I mean, I'll just never forget it. Like I've been doing the podcast circuit. Yeah. Cinema. I would do the podcast circuit. Market was, like, if you remember back 2024, I think Pump Fund launches January 2024. And it was like a pretty hot like spring. It was like Billy to a Billy and all the early pump coins. There was the whole whiff thing. Yeah, but summer was slow. Summer was really slow. And I was just doing media. I went to Romania, I interviewed Andrew Tate, which was something. And I was just like doing media. And I'll never forget it. We were, I was so bored. I was living with Frank and all of them. We're just playing poker all day. We're playing poker. I'm on stake.com playing poker all day. On Hustlers Tour playing poker. And in October, GOAT launches, True Terminal. And I just will never forget like seeing GOAT and being like, okay, it's go time. And the whole thing blew up into just complete mania, climax, euphoria. And, money starts flying, shit gets a little crazy and euphoria. But I think it was my first time really seeing what like true reflexivity is and seeing people that really could trade or really were focused, turn massive amounts of money, lose it all, round trip it all. And then you sort of get the post-nut emptiness, after Trump coin, after Melania, and you're like, what the fuck just happened? But it was an unreal time. I've sort of accepted that what happened in 2024 and through Trump coin may never happen again. And I think that's okay. Like, I think we take for granted that crypto is an entirely new asset class. Like a new financial asset that is also important and superior to what existed, was just created out of thin air. So how many people in the world have turned, a couple $1,000s into like 8 figures, 9 figures on Bitcoin, 8 figures, 9 figures on ETH? Like it's almost numbers that don't really make sense. Yeah. And so I definitely have accepted that we might not get mania like that again, but I think that the skills you pulled for as slop and, ridiculous as meme coins do port over pretty 1-to-1. And that was the first time I feel like I really spent 12 hours a day, 10 hours a day. Like I'm going to learn how to trade properly. And now you might look at the trading skills required for meme coins and be like, it's garbage, but some people made a lot, some people didn't. And so there's obviously some level of real skill that was learned or acquired or ported over during the meme coin stuff.
Yeah. Okay. We'll come back to that in a bit, but I do think that your point about like whether or not this will ever happen again is something that is especially relevant for people who we hope to continue to enter the industry, I would say, because a lot of the allure, at least for quite some time, was the ability to make a lot of money in a short period of time. And we had like early Bitcoin, and then 2017 ICOs, and then DeFi summer and NFTs, and then finally now meme coins. And like those are the manias, but it does seem that every subsequent mania people get a little bit smarter, and it is hard to envision continuous like manias. And also, to be honest, and I will probably, regret saying this in 6 months when we create a new asset out of thin air, but like I don't know that there's that many more things we can tokenize or gamble on that haven't already been sort of done before. But I don't know. Do you have any thoughts on that? So like, is there anything we haven't created yet? We've like this social thing. Go ahead. Yeah.
No, please.
Well, I was going to say like, I was going to say that social thing maybe hasn't been fully explored, but we did try friend tech, and I don't know, maybe there's just nothing there, but it certainly wasn't, I wouldn't say it was a category unto itself, like NFTs or DeFi summer or, the original ICO mania. So like maybe to the extent that they're, but I don't know, or yeah, go ahead.
I, by the way, we could talk to you for hours about friend tech. Somebody will do the social thing and they'll make billions of dollars, but it's just such a painful process to get there. I think after the market just like after like believe is the final, all right, we're just on chain is fried. I was pretty just demoralized and really trying, like I was just spending all day in front of a whiteboard, like what's the next game, trying to solve this. And I had a call with Lolliot, who I think is one of the better crypto traders to ever come through. And we just asked him like, what is the next game? What's the next game? What's it going to be? What's next? And he said something to me that I think was pretty insightful. And he just said like, look, Threadguy, I'm not in a game of predictions at this point. Like there's really, if you've already made some money, there's really not that much RR to be in the game of like trying to front run what the next narrative is and bank it. You only really have to do that once. And he's sort of like, I'm a good trader. I've positioned myself to when the next game appears and it makes itself obvious and bonk happens or Pepe happens. Cool. We're doing meme coins. Then you just come in 15% after it's already started and you just trade it better. And so I sort of accepted that a new game will appear. I won't be the first person to it, but we have the experience how to be able to trade it correctly. And broad strokes, crypto, NFTs, stocks, commodities, whatever asset class we're discussing, I just think there's this mega trend of next generations, and as the years go on, people wanting to take more risk, being more comfortable speculating on financial assets and moving magic internet money back and forth, right? Like when I started, before NFTs, I was a sneaker reseller in high school. I was like one of these like dropship kids. And it was super niche. It wasn't a thing. Like when I graduated high school in 2020. So like when I was 16 or whatever in 2018, 2017, it wasn't like a thing that you did, right? Like my locker was full of sneakers and I'm botting Shopify websites. That wasn't really a career path. It wasn't a thing people were doing. There was a very small group of people on the internet that were doing this and that was it. And then now the kids coming up, right? If you're a 12-year-old kid right now, there's infinite ways to make money on the internet. You can make 7 figures on Roblox servers, and they're doing GTA RP servers, and they're still botting sneakers, and there's like infinite ways. And so I think there's just a meta societal trend of taking risk and making money in weird ways on the internet that is now porting itself over. And you look at, stock market, like what percent was it? 60 something % of options are 0 DTE expiry. Is that good? Is that bad? It's probably bad. I'm not really the arbiter of good and bad, but it's happening. And so I think that will manifest itself into these explosive moves on asset classes. And then even on more like narrowed, we saw what happened with oil. We saw what happened with silver and gold. And so will it be like a crypto wide, close your eyes, throw darts at, the 75th token on CoinMarketCap and hit 3, 4, 10x in a couple weeks? Maybe not. But I think that the idea that there will be very explosive moves continuously happening in markets is a pretty clear trend to me that I'll bet on.
I want to come back to something you said about believe. Why did you know that was when on-chain was cooked? And also, what do you make of the whole believe thing? Like, I don't know to the extent that you want to give personal opinions, but I will say that.
Yeah, I'm down. I could talk a lot.
It was so like, actually give a little bit of context. This is like a wide range audience here. What was believe? And also give some background as to like the, Ben and the whole idea behind it, because it was a little bit jarring because I was looking at it, I was like, this is a complete charade.
Yep.
But it was like somewhat it was almost co-signed by some
Yes.
people that thought were, that you kind of thought have some integrity, or I don't want to maybe like frame it like that, but just you can look at it very simply and be like, this is a complete circus, and this is like, this is not going to end well. But it got a lot of hype there for a second. In fact, it was like the primary on-chain thing. So yeah, go ahead.
Context, belief went from 0 to maybe 400 mil market cap in 3 weeks. And
yeah, but explain also,
context,
what it was. Okay, cool.
So double context is like the reason I think I in particular got so excited about the AI mania in 2024 was this idea, like it's a cringe term now, but this idea of internet capital markets, right? ICO, your startup at 0 on the blockchain, anybody can get in, go fuck all, venture, going public, like just go public on the internet, go public on Solana, right? It's a pretty fascinating idea. And I think it brought a lot of people in, NVIDIA's at however many trillions, all these AI companies are private. Like you could buy AI 16Z on Solana, right? And so this was like this enticing, right? It sounds ridiculous now,
but it was the next NVIDIA.
Yeah, right. Fuck, it's going to flip up an AI. But it was this, it created billions of dollars out of thin air of people like, internet capital markets. And so January 17th, Trump coin happens. January 19th, Melania happens. Then Libra happens. And then on-chain is basically fried. We're done with meme coins because Trump was the euphoric blow off the top. So we need something new. And so Ben Pasternak comes around, who is not really a crypto guy. He tried to clout. It was like a SocialFi, Friendtech with like fungible tokens with more liquid. Like Pump Fun meets Friendtech, basically. Kind of got hyped for a couple of days, obviously failed. And Ben Pasternak is like a Web 2 guy. He sold this monkey app. It's like a Uvu or like a do you know what Uvu is?
I think I've heard of that.
It was one of these
I know that he had something like, I know he was I'm doing quotes here, like he was a smashing success in Web 2 prior to
but he built this like social app, sold it for 8 figures, and like had some motion in like Web 2. And so he pivots to clout and is basically like, we're gonna do internet capital markets on Solana. We're gonna get real founders with real tech, and they're gonna launch their businesses on Solana. Now, it was enticing because Ben Pasternak has a bunch of relatively clouded tech friends that can come in and launch tokens. The whole charade of the whole thing is that what they were doing has nothing unique compared to launching a Pump Fund, compared to deploying a token in any other, doesn't matter how you deploy, it's the same thing. The tokens are an equity. You have no upside in these businesses, but whatever. He gets a couple legit founders to launch. Dupe, which is a pretty popular app, dupe.com, is pretty big. That launches.
What is Dupe?
It's like a price matching thing for like furniture. So you could like throw like the Sherm mic on your website with a Dupe extension, and it will give you like a better place to. Yeah, like it's pretty. They do good, real revenue. They have some real numbers. They have a couple, 10,000 downloads in the App Store. Like it's a real platform relative to what we're working with on Solana. Avi Patel in Cled launch, which is like the data labeling, which has actually been very successful. The token, not so much, but the business, yes. And the big X factor here is he gets Nikita Beer, who I believe is had a product at Twitter by a couple months. But Nikita Beer is like kind of a big deal in the Twitter world, at least in the startup world. Comes in and basically full endorses Ben Pasternak and Believe app. And so you get this explosive blow off the top of Web 2 people, TradFi people, whatever, not TradFi, like Silicon Valley people, tech people, saying this is the crypto thing that's real. Real people are launching real companies on Solana. It's Believe app. But the whole bit of the whole thing was it's like we've done this for I don't know, as long as I've been in crypto, been doing this, right? Deploying tokens that maybe have some attachment to something, but is it equity? No. What is it? I don't really know. It's nothing. They make revenue, but the token holders don't get any. We make money, but we don't buy back the token. It's just like it's nothing. And so this thing goes parabolic, goes to 400 mil. It gets way bigger than it should. Ben Pasternak gets way more notoriety than he should, all things considered. It just like blows up for like 3 weeks, super controversial, and then all of a sudden everyone's just like, wait, what the fuck are we holding? We're holding nothing. And what feels like a straight candle down, all the tokens go to 0, Believe app gets destroyed, and then Ben Pasternak disappears from Twitter. And, I'm skipping a couple steps along the way, but we basically just rebranded Pump Fund tokens to like Pump Fund Enterprise. And everybody, for whatever reason, just kind of desperate for the last play. Some people still had a lot of capital on chain from Trump coin. Just there was this final, this is it. And this wasn't it. And so once Believe app washed to zero, I would argue on-chain has basically been a ghost town since. I think it's like June, July. I want to say July, maybe August at the latest. Pump Fund ICOs. And then after that, it was pretty slim pickings if you're like a meme coin on-chain trader. And I mean, I think a lot of people that made a ton of money 24, 25 gave most of it back, unfortunately, July, August, September, October.
Did Pasternak make a ton of money from? We joke about the, like, I don't follow this so closely. We joke about like the Evelyn Haas handbags, right? Did he actually make a ton of money from this? And I ask that because just for some context, sometimes I don't know how often, I guess on-chain sleuths would know better than I, but sometimes founders ride it up and ride it all the way back down. And there's a lot of people who you expect to be fabulously wealthy from some, crypto charade, and they're really not. But I'm just curious, did he actually, print a couple mansions with this, or you don't know?
Don't quote me on this, and don't send me any legal documents, Believe app.
Okay.
I think they made like 40, 50 on fees.
40 or $50 million?
Yeah. On
nice.
fees. Yeah. So quite a few mansions, right?
What a fascinating little
look. Or 1/5 of the Ken Griffin penthouse in New York.
So, but I guess, okay, like I don't we could talk about the scams or complete, just grifts that we've seen for the past 10 years in crypto. But at a higher level, do you feel that we are going to get a version of internet capital markets? And like, what I mean by that is, is this idea of the next NVIDIA or OpenAI launching on Solana? This has been one of their like selling points and something that they've really pushed hard, as like with the whole internet capital markets and like Tolly and the whole Solana Foundation. Do you believe in this notion that, some coin is going to come from Solana? And because we did try this with ICOs, by the way, it was maybe slightly different and there was more frictions, but this is a repeat of that in my mind. Like it very much, there was these, grandiose ideas and then nothing really comes in fruition. And the thing is that it feels like something would have worked by now if this was going to be the future of capital formation. I could be wrong. Maybe we just need better regulation, better legal protections around tokens and stuff, but it's a little bit disenchanting how little has worked, specifically in this domain of launching a viable business on chain or whatever in this kind of capacity.
I think crypto has shown its use case. There's quite a few, but the two things that it is just unreal at is a vehicle for speculation and mania, and a vehicle to, crowdfund or crowdsource or bootstrap a lot of capital very fast behind an idea. And you would hope that those two ingredients could lead to a third product, which is a viable, sustainable business of some sort on chain. I wonder how much the regulatory overhang stops us as like what, this is something that I always think is funny, is like this happened again in a little mini AI run that lasted for like a couple weeks in 2026. Every time a new founder comes into crypto or like launches a crypto token, they always say the same stuff, which is like, wow, what if I could issue these tokens as equity and then I could give a percentage of the profits that we make as a company back to the token holders? Can we do that? And it's like you reinvent, securities from first principles every single time they come into crypto. And so I am a believer that ingredient number one and number two of like people want to speculate on the internet, and crypto is just the best, fastest, most efficient vehicle to do that. And then number two being crypto is the best, fastest, most efficient vehicle to crowdsource lots of capital very quickly, eventually do lead you to that positive outcome. And I think, maybe this is unfair to say, but I think Hyperliquid is at this point our golden child story, and potentially a manifestation of that happening. Like, I don't think the meme coin stuff is going to go away. I really don't. I think it's going to go in ebbs and flows, and there will be mania again, maybe not at the level there was before. But I think even at this point, whether you believe the numbers are real or fake, Pump Fund makes $1 million a day still in these conditions at $84 Solana. Well, it's a complete washout. And so it's pretty clear to me that this baseline foundation is not going away. It's also clear to me that crypto in many levels is just a superior to TradFi rails. And so it's really good at a couple things that are like made for internet speculation. And so I still have deep optimism that there will be more hyperliquids. And I mean, I would argue Pump Fund is a smashing success. Now, that's like a controversial take at this point because the chart looks horrendous and, you know, Solana meme coins are dead, but they're sort of another example of this. And so I think the future of crypto outside of stable coins and Bitcoin is basically dependent on whether or not this internet capital markets vision does play out. I think we've gotten there because as far as I remember, like in 21 cycle, and then I wasn't here for ICOs, but I remember the bear market. It was very much like Bitcoin's going to come back, but all of crypto is just going to come back. It has to, right? Of course it is. Then we get friend tech meme coins. We're back. In 2026, Bitcoin is going to come back and stable coins and tokenization are going to eat everything. We can't make any money off that, or at least I can't. I'm not in, I don't have tether equity or stable equity or plasma, whatever. But that middle ground for the first time does not feel like this is guaranteed to work. And so it feels like you've been here longer than me. Like, do you agree with that?
That was basically what I mean. This is like the tweet that sparked this kind of debate I had with Hasib, and I just said I don't this middle ground is coming back, and I was fairly consistent with that view for really since I started commenting on crypto. Like, I've held these views pretty consistent. Not to say that I was so prescient, but I kind of felt that a lot of this would kind of a lot of the lessons that people learned in 2017 and in 2020 was especially when I started paying attention, just like little things like high gas fees, right? And projecting that out and not really understanding that it's as simple as there was much more demand than supply at the time. And the market will bring new supply. And Solana brought new supply. And then every L2 brought new supply. And then this idea of some, premium block space. So I looked at it very much from the sort of mechanism side, which was like this idea of some, premium block space being sold. And I was like, I don't think this is a thing. And I think that the marginal cost of production of block space converges to zero. And so this is one reason why I don't think, for example, these like middle ground of tokens, right, that I think people have been rinsed many times. And there is an aspect of that, which obviously I get into arguments with people about. And then there's just like the going forward, right? Like, you can create a new blockchain in 30 seconds. Like, you can, use a roll-up as a service. And it really is as simple as like, there was a lot more demand than supply at the time. So we extrapolated to the future about a lot of these things. And so, but it's interesting to hear. I think you kind of learned in the open from a different angle. Like, that's why I think it's interesting talking to you, is because like, I think you have endeared yourself to people on the grounds that you've kind of come around to things from, you've learned things from first principles in the open. Like, a lot of the stuff about taxation and stuff recently has been funny to me because I felt similarly, right? And that's why I think people have found you to be kind of like this endearing character who's willing to put yourself out there.
Dude, I think in a lot of ways, like, and I mean this like sincerely and earnestly, I feel like I am a product of crypto Twitter in this world, because I mean, I joined CT when I was like 19 and I had really no prior, I mean, I still like lived at home. I mean, I was in college, I guess, but I was basically living at home. I had no prior experience doing anything other than like flipping sneakers on the internet, drop shipping and shit. And so you come into crypto 2021 at such a just special time. And I remember having these conversations with my dad and being like, my dad's like a pretty smart, has done well, trades them, but like has done well trading, understands markets, taught me about stocks. And I remember just telling him, the future of everything's going to be a DAO. Every company is going to be a DAO. The world's going to be decentralized. Like, grandma's going to have to figure out how to get on MetaMask. This is just the future. Everything's an NFT. Like, and you sort of trade it, see how it plays out, get a little jaded, learn some stuff, trade it, see how it plays out, get a little jaded, get a little jaded, get a little jaded. And then you end where we are right now. And you sort of take the good, which there is a lot of good from crypto. There's a lot of things that it does very well and has done well and has, in my opinion, impacted the world for better. But then you take the rest and you're like, okay, I was wrong about that. We were 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 also wrong about that. And we were wrong about that. And I think what's left is the good stuff and what is actually important. But you sort of do like, I don't know, you like learn finance from first principles with a crypto education. And so I think I have begrudgingly and unwillingly come around to you've got to stop being a moon boy, right? You're super moon boy of forest. It's euphoric. You think you know everything. And then you kind of like come around, and in a lot of ways, it sort of jades people, right? Like I look at a lot of these crypto OGs that have been here for 10 years, 15 years. They fucking hate crypto. And I used to never get it. I'm like, what? You made so much money from crypto. How could you hate crypto? But then when you sort of look at it from this ivory tower, it's like, yeah, there's a lot of bad parts. But I am pretty much through and through 5 years into this thing, a deep crypto believer. And I think the things that it does well, even if just a couple, it does so superiorly well, like just so much better than the alternative, if there even is an alternative, that alone will keep crypto in the zeitgeist forever. And I do think we're sort of going to this future where it's like, I don't really think it'll be so TradFi in a bucket, crypto in a bucket. It's sort of like crypto is just a part of trad. Like you look at what Hyperliquid was doing right now, right? I had a Zcash long, closed it to trade Brent oil, crude oil, closed it to like trade HIMS. And so it's sort of just becoming part of it. Take the good, leave the bad, if you will.
Let me take a moment to talk to you about Ellipsis Labs, a team I've known for a while. The Ellipsis team is one of the few that I can consistently point to and say, these guys really know what they're doing. Ellipsis Labs brought capital-efficient order books to Solana and started the Prop AMM revolution with SolFi. Altogether, they've saved retail traders tens of millions of dollars by reducing slippage on spot markets. They're bringing the same level of expertise to perpetuals with Phoenix, which is live today. Ellipsis Labs is backed by Paradigm, Electric Capital, and Han Ventures. I would consider them the foremost experts in crypto market microstructure. The best part is that Ellipsis Labs is hiring for New York-based engineers. Work with a small, focused team who are results-driven, collaborative, and use a modern stack. If you're an engineer looking to work with a DeFi team that's already proven itself in the market, go to ellipsislabs.com/careers. Okay, speaking of Hyperliquid, I've noticed you're getting, well, first of all, the oil thing was really hilarious. I think because once again, something that I think you're bringing your meme coin and just like early crypto trading experience, and I think it seemed to me that you read the narrative fairly well. You were getting in arguments with all of these fintech guys, going back and forth. Explain what happened there. It's like some good content, I think.
It's funny, like we started covering like stocks and a lot of AI on stream because crypto was just so boring. And on Friday night, maybe Saturday morning, February 28th, US/Israel strikes Iran. And it's like Sunday night, and I'm like, guys, we're like at war. And I have no idea. I don't know anything about the Middle East. I don't know what the trade of Hormuz is. I didn't even really know you could trade oil. Like, I know less than zero about the topic.
So I hopped on and deposited.
I basically Monday stream. We watched Professor Jang videos, lectures. We spent 2 weeks basically just all day, every day on stream. What can we find out? And it's nice that I've curated this community on stream where I don't feel like I have to be the smartest trader in the room, but it's like, we're going to get to the bottom of it. We'll get the best information, right? And so we spent like 10 days covering this. Market's not really going down. Oil isn't really moving. And after about 10 streams, I'm just like, guys, I think there is a severe spread between how out of control the situation in the Middle East has gotten and how the market is positioned. And I think that there is a very clear opportunity to trade this spread. And what happened was the US announced they were going to tap into the SPR, Strategic Petroleum Reserve, right? And they were going to add 2 million barrels a day into the supply chain to combat the 20 million missing. And what we figured out is that there was 500 million I think it was 1.2 billion barrels in the SPR, but you can only bring out 2 million a day because these things are in salt caves in Texas. And if you pull out more than 2 million barrels a day, the cave will like implode, you lose all the oil. And so what we basically deducted was that this is a complete nothing burger. This means nothing. It doesn't actually stop the supply chain issues with oil. And we got like a 25-30% red candle on oil. And so I'm like, guys, I think there's a spread here. I think we just got a Jenny entry because we're covering this thing on stream. I'm watching this speech. I'm like, this is a complete nothing burger. I think we're right about this. And so I basically entered in pretty, I don't know, reasonable size for what I normally trade. Like I entered it with some fucking conviction, averaged up as it started trading my way. And the whole thesis was basically, again, this spread. Like once the market sort of catches up to this situation has gotten out of control and it's not going to be over in 3 days, like, you know, Trump was shrouding around that it would be. Oil is going to rip, stocks are going to dump, and I'm going to close. And that's basically what happened to a T. I didn't top ticket or anything like this, but I think it was like I held it for, I don't know, a week or something. And it was that Friday going into the weekend. Nobody wanted to hold risk. And so everybody is just dumping stocks. Oil started a candle. And then I think on Saturday morning, there were some scary headlines about a couple ships got through. They were letting Chinese ships go through, paying in yuan. They were letting ships go through. And so I just closed the oil trade.
Scary headlines as in like scary that it would reverse the action.
Yeah, scary that there'd be peace.
Yeah.
This is the craziest learning from this whole thing is that I've never traded war before. And it is extremely difficult to deduct what is actually happening, what is true, what is not. Trump's talking his book. He's sort of pushing propaganda. Iran's talking their book. They're sort of pushing propaganda on both sides. Video coverage and journalism in the GCC countries is like banned, right? That's why I said trading analyst number 3 had to go. If you're in Dubai, you can't post videos of missiles. If you're in Oman, they're like arresting people for posting videos of what's happening. And so you're sort of like looking to the books and these anonymous accounts on Twitter of like what parts of this, like you see a headline, how much of this is real? How much of it is like a charade? Where is the actual fine line here? And so I realized like relatively quickly, at least for where we're at right now in this war, it's just like a sentiment game. It's like a narrative game. What is
the meme coins? Yeah.
It felt like the way it was trading felt like a meme coin. It was insane. I'm like, this is just like a narrative game. PP Poo-Poo's moving the books on the weekend. He's bull posting in the market. Oil's pumping on the weekend on hyperliquid. It's super liquid relative to try to oil market. He's like moving markets. And so it very much was like an attention narrative trade. And I mean, look, I'm not an oil trader, but there was a spot that I felt like I had some level of edge in, and this spot worked.
Yeah, it seems like this is maybe also why it's a good, interesting conversation to have with you, because it does feel like this is very much, if your thesis is correct, just with regards to speculation and increased risk, perhaps going forward, maybe from retail investors, especially, that a lot of these things that we assumed were just only profitable for Citadel and SIG and Wall Street. Maybe there is edge to be had if you're keyed in to, well, I would say crypto Twitter, but let's just say like Twitter in general, right? And I'm using that as sort of a euphemism here, but just if you are extremely keyed into current events, maybe that is as much of an edge going forward as, right, like all these quants. But I don't know, like I'm kind of asking you to respond to that because I don't have enough I don't have enough of a trading background to know whether or not that's true, or also whether this is the type of thing that's replicable, or it's kind of some degree of confirmation bias, right? Where it's like, oh, I nailed this oil trade, and then going forward, right? It's like, it's hard to say.
Yeah.
And whether this like kind of narrative, like markets just acting solely on narratives in general is something that we can assume to be true, you know, in the future.
I'm a pretty strong believer that everything is going to trade like crypto. And I think the crypto education is one of the most valuable educations in the world. And you look at what happened with silver, gold recently, you look at what happened with oil, and then you think back to a GME and you have to just subtract that, like that will be, markets will trade more like that, right? And so when you look at these numbers, it's like 60% or whatever of options volume is zero DT expiration. you really sort of see it in the charts a little bit. And I'm pretty new to the stock game, so I'm not coming to this from my ivory tower as if I'm some like legendary stock trader. But I made a couple good trades, and the momentum, the attention, the narrative is very real. It's very strong. Like the Hims trade, I just closed it, was another fun one, which is like I got a little assistance on the war ending, but RFK comes out and is basically like, I don't know exactly the term, but we're gonna like push through a bunch of these peptides on the FDA through the FDA, or like cut down the barrier for what's legal as far as these peptides go. And Hims just like starts ripping right off the bat. I enter Hims, all of a sudden everyone on CT is talking about Hims, and I'm a firm believer these CT traders are some of the best in the world at the narrative and attention. Everyone on Twitter is talking about Hims. Andrew Huberman's tweeting about Hims. It's just like the whole conversation. Basic CT calls it mega church. It's my favorite thesis of all time. He says that there is underpriced edge in trading the note of the internet that day, right? And the example he uses is American Eagle, City Sweeney. And when that ad comes out, American Eagle pumps 50-60%. And so Hims gets this crazy candle. Everyone's sort of piling into Hims. It's like, oh my God, it's only at $5 billion market cap. Rave Dow is at $5 billion, right? What is $5 billion? So piling into Hims, has 2 days of like nuts momentum. And then today they come out, they say the Strait of Hormuz is open. Iran will never close it again. Then you just get kind of this blow off the top on risk. And then I exit it. And I exit it because one, I was just satisfied with my P&L. But then number two, I sort of sat down and thought about it. I'm like, okay, I caught like a 5-6, 4x, small leverage, 4x leverage, reasonable leverage, caught a big move. The trade from here, you get the attention pop. The trade from here is now I have to go figure out how does Hims work? What do the financials look like? How are they going to do on earnings on May 11th? I'm like, I have absolutely zero interest in holding to earnings on May 11th and figuring out, are we going to beat earnings? How is this going to trade into that? It might do very well, but it's just a fundamentally different trade, right? And so I've sort of cut a line in my brain on trading things in this like mega church attention style, which I think is like the crypto education, and those being short term. When it becomes consensus, we're out. I think the oil trade was like that as well, versus these longer term. Like I took a Zcash trade in 2025. I held it for like 6 months. Or I took a pump fund trade in 2025. I held it for like 6 months. Versus these longer. I think the company is undervalued. Whatever, fundamentals look good. I'm going to just be in this thing for like a longer trend. I've sort of had to split it down the middle, but I do think on this side of the short term node of the internet that day, crypto trade, I mean, it's like what you do, right? It's like, why is VVV or any of these alts when Pepe rips, Monads ripping, why are these things ripping? Is it because they had a 10x user growth, or because Rhino posted an entry and then everybody's piling into this thing, right?
Yeah. You mentioned Rhino. He's like a pretty well-known trader on crypto Twitter. Who else do you look to for this kind of, I guess, short-term narrative trading? Maybe you could extend that to perp traders in general. Like who do you look to as the sharps?
Rhino's great, but he's tough to follow. He's tough to follow. And I think he's like, there's some traders I look at and I'm like, I can be that. And there's other I look at and I'm like, I'll just take notes. He's one of the take notes guys.
What do you mean by that?
I just feel like he has a much more intricate understanding of a lot of the trades that he's taking, and he's in the books and he's looking at flows, and he's just like sort of looking at it from a different side of his brain than I am.
Like this like reminds me of CL. Do you know?
Yeah. I'm not.
Yeah, he's like clearly brilliant. But there's actually an interview with him from you should find this. It's hilarious. From like 2018 or 2019, I think. Yes, on what was it like? Not BitMEX. It was like one of those exchanges podcasts, and you can hear him. And I only knew him from like
the Agar flow in the background.
Yeah. Okay. So like, he's clearly brilliant, and you hear this, and you're like, okay, this person is much sharper. But I guess my point was saying this is though, and I'm curious. This is kind of a lead into a question, which is, I do wonder the degree to which there's just extreme survivorship bias, and the degree to which I say I mean, I'm not really putting anybody into this category specifically, but just not encourage, but allow for the idea that the average person makes a lot of money in these markets. And it does. I mean, I don't really trade. So, and I don't really comment on anything. I mean, I'll show Bitcoin every now and then, right? But apart from that, I'm not so much in the, in the trading domain. But I don't fault anybody for being. I just wondered, like what we hear from the people who were successful, right? And for every one of those, there's 10 people that got blown up. And so I do kind of just wonder about this mentality going forward.
So two things. One, on a couple other trader shout outs. I always glaze it, but I think Basic since he's one of the best, especially on this like narrative attached. I mean, he's also brilliant, but he's one of the best. I love Jazz as well. I think Jazz is one of the best. I really like this. What is your ability to outperform the market on 100 plays? I don't really know, but if you can be really right about one idea and outsized returns, you can really do well. Jazz is one of the best. I think Stoic Savage is one of the best, but he's like a Rhino clone. I'm just not going to be better than you on the 15-minute, hour-long perps chart, flipping long and short. That's not my game. On the second part, I think it's a really good take. I think one of the things I didn't really learn to the bear market was that most of these traders is not that good. And like most people in CT are not good. And you sort of just had like a PvE environment where everybody got rich on everything in theory. And most people gave it back or never really deserved it in the first place. And I think I actually found deep comfort in that because no amount of money feels like a lot of money in the turbo bull market, especially in crypto Twitter. And then the tide goes out and you see for what it really is. And so I think, I've sort of accepted like my ability to outperform the market on short-term perps is just like, what are we talking about? Zero. It's not going to happen, right? But my ability to pick spots on assets that I understand generally, or types of trades that I understand. Like I'm not really like a DeFi guy. I don't spend much time on DeFi. I'm not trading Morpho and messing around with DeFi stuff, right? I'm not doing Taiki yield farming. I just like don't really get the trade. But like when Pump Fun had its crazy run, I saw it. I saw the numbers. I'm watching people start streaming, making a ton of money. I'm like, this is gonna have a move. Or when I saw the Zcash, you see Naval and Balaji and Murr, and all of a sudden it's getting the attack. I can understand the Zcash trade. And so I've sort of deducted like trading as your only source of income is ridiculously difficult. And then trading short term as your only source of income is ridiculously difficult. But my ability to do media every day because I love it and cover the market because I'm very interested in it, and then pick spots where I see them manifest themselves and size higher, take less trades, and have a lot of conviction in specific spots, I think you could really outperform. It's sort of the Jez style, right? Why would you put money behind your second best idea? I think your ability to get one idea very right is realistic. I think your ability to flip flop long short every single move is like, there's a reason Rhino is Rhino, Stoic Savage is Stoic Savage, and a lot of these, there's the reason only a couple of them exist. And so I think there's extreme survivorship bias. I think a lot of people sort of had their brains fucked from the meme coin run, thinking that you're like a god trader because there's a 100 mil runner every single day. I think a lot of people, and they're like, we're going to go trade perps. And it's just an entirely different game. And so I've really brought myself down to picking spots, being really patient, and not trying to be something that I'm not on the trading side. And that has allowed me to like be profitable, make money, and not give it all back, right? That's the hardest part is you make a lot of money in a trade and you're just fucking sizing, you have like the ego about it. And so I've really sort of tried to narrow in like, where do I make money and how do I do more of that?
Let's go into your streaming career. When did you start streaming and what was kind of the motivation there? You talked about this Andrew Tate interview you did, which I think I saw part of. So like you flew to Romania, did this like sit down with him. Yeah. Was that a podcast you were doing or was that just
a recording podcast?
No, but was that a consistent podcast or was it just like a one-off? You kind of like jumped around a few times.
I basically spent, so I started doing spaces in 2022. I was working for this crypto company, Tally Labs. It was an NFT project. As part of the job, they wanted me to do weekly spaces. And I almost didn't take the job because I didn't want to I was so scared of public speaking. And I started doing spaces all 2022. I have a ton of fun with it. And 23 bear market, I just hosted spaces the whole bear market. It's the only way I could make money and also like stay alive of just interested in what's happening. And then 24, I did a couple in real life podcasts and I just like really liked it. I liked in person. I liked the longer form. And so I spent all of 24 just like flying all over the place, going to conferences, interviewing crypto founders. And the blow off the top was Andrew Tate. And then I told you I was playing a ton of poker after that. And so we having like cool people come to our poker games in LA. And so I actually reached out to Polymarket in right before True Terminal. I think it was like early October. And I said, hey, like, we're playing all these poker games. We have cool people coming through. It's LA. Why don't you sponsor us to like run a live poker game? And they're like, fuck it, let's do it. And so I played, Frank played, Basics and Z played, Ansem played, Min played, a bunch of crypto guys came in. BitBoy was there. BitBoy played, a bunch of crypto guys played. And the stream had like 1,000 live or something like crazy. And so after that, I was like, fuck, I should probably do another stream. And so I did another stream, and then basically the next day, AI season like takes off. And so it's, you film a podcast. The IRL one is so difficult, right? You fly, you travel, you have to edit it, upload. It's just like a brutal process. Virtual.
Yeah, but I think streaming obviously being different than podcasting, but I do think the IRL podcast is really good. I think there's something, you know what I mean? There's something that you get from being in person. And yeah, like when I can, I try to do in-person podcasts, because there is definitely something you miss when just like the latency and
100%.
So, but anyway,
it's obviously better. But I was just I was burnt out of traveling, and then this AI thing pops up. I'm like, fuck, there's like 100 founders I want to talk to. And then so I basically, right after that Polymarket poker game, I just started interviewing founders on AI. Whoever's hot, just come on stream. And so for 3 months, and it was big because everyone's trading on chain. So these things were like getting really, really, really big. So I just start streaming every day, basically by myself. I don't really have a team. It's just like me. I'd roll out of bed. Okay, what time? All right. Like, it was just like kind of a complete mess whenever I felt like it, but it was often because it was hot. I started taking it more seriously when I started working with Phantom. And then the blow off the top was Trump coin. And Trump coin happens. I wake up the next morning. I start my stream, and there's like 1,500 people in the stream. For context, I go live now to maybe 400, all platforms, Twitter, Twitch, YouTube. There's 1,500 people on Twitch, and none of them knew what Phantom was. None of them knew who I was, who Kobe was. They knew nothing. Like, who are you guys? They're like, oh,
people don't even know Kobe.
They don't even know Kobe. They're like, oh, we just found Trump coin. I don't even know what crypto is. And so I'm like, fuck, these kids were here for like 3 days, and then Trump coin washes out, Melania happens, and then the climax, I'll give you a longer story of this quick, is Libra coin happens, right? Which is this whole crazy controversy. I could tell the whole story. It's long. I've told it before, but
I think people probably, even the mechanism design listeners probably have some context on Libra, because that got a lot of attention.
It was massive. And so I'm streaming it live. I'm actually interviewing a guest. He's about to come on. I tell him, no, I gotta cancel. This thing just launched.
Something more important than you has come up.
Yeah, Meebit just got acquired. I'm gonna talk about Meebit. I'm like, fuck that. Libra's at $1 billion, so I'm trading this thing live. I lose $250,000 live, which is pretty rough. Yeah, it was rough on the stream, on a public wallet, and then I get off.
Gotta spend money, make money.
Yeah, there you go. Then there was this clip of me talking about how, like, there had been rumblings of a Argentina coin prior to this, because for like 3 weeks, everybody was just buying Argentina token on Pump Fund. It would bond, go to 200K, go to zero. It would bond, go to 200K, go to zero. It would bond, go to 300K, go to zero. And so there had been just like on-chain wallets or talking Argentina coin. Whatever. This thing blows up into this massive controversy of me. I basically was like, fuck this shit. I'm not going to stream for a couple days. Then I made a video and basically told my story and said, if anybody can find anything even remotely attached to me, find it, post it. I'll delete my Twitter account. I'll fuck off. I was like, guys, I've been here for 5 years. Took no money from anybody until Phantom and now Polymarket. If you can find anything.
Okay. So sorry, I didn't understand what you were saying. And actually, I either forgot about this or didn't know the context. So people were saying that you were involved in some capacity with the Libra coin. Okay, I didn't know that. I only knew about the Libra.
Yeah, I was about as close to the blast radius as you could be. There's a clip of me at the end of the stream, and I said, I was rehashing what just happened for a YouTube video.
Okay.
And I said that there had been rumblings of an Argentina coin for like weeks. And by that, I mean people were bonding Argentina coin to Pump Fund, right? Buying in coin. Like a lot of them. Because it was right after the Super Bowl CAR, Central African Republic, the president of
Oh
CAR.
yeah, I remember that one. I do. Yes, yes.
And so somebody takes this clip and goes, Threadguy publicly admits to insider trading Argentina coin and posts on Twitter. And dude, I'm telling you, I woke up in the morning. I saw it at like 100 views. I'm like, how bad do you think this clip is? Everyone's like, you're fine. Because I publicly lost 250K. Like, it was very like, there's a lot of people in the stream. Everybody knew what happened. I wake up in the morning to 500 missed phone calls. Dave Portnoy tweeting. Spanish news outlets are like calling me, asking me to speak. Like, every person, at least in my bubble, every person on Twitter, Threadguy, scammer. It's just like I'm outside in LA. People are like, that's the Libra guy. Like, it was nuts. I'm sitting at breakfast. That's the Libra. It was insane. And so I fucked off for a couple of days. I'm almost done with the story. I fucked off for a couple of days.
No, it's interesting. I either had forgotten or didn't know the full story. So keep going.
It was nuts. I'm getting phone calls from like really powerful crypto people being like, dude, like, I think Malay, like, he might get impeached. Like, it was this crazy, like, and like, dude, you're just like at the front of it. If what you're telling me is true, you did nothing, but you're just like, I don't know, you were streaming it live, you have the clip. It just like was the clip of the story. And
so did you know Hayden?
No.
Okay, because he's the one who he's the one who shoulders the blame.
I had been I was offered a deal to work with Cube Exchange, if you remember that. Like in 2020.
It's like Solana thing.
Yeah, it was Solana thing in 2024 by Hayden. It was the only time I ever spoke to him on a Google call. And I was like, okay, I'm going to pass. And so for 3 days, every day, I'm like, it can't get bigger. It gets bigger. Next day, Dave Portnoy comes out. And he's on live stream with Hayden and CoffeeZilla. Like, it just like blew up on this massive thing. And so finally, Hayden goes on a live stream and is like, by the way, everybody keeps asking me about the fucking LA Vape Cabal and Threadguy. I don't even know who that is. Please stop asking me. And so I filmed a video.
He exonerated you at least.
Thank God. Didn't have to do it, but we had nothing to do with it. I posted a long video, and basically just told my side of the story and was like, if anyone could find anything, guys, I lost $250,000. Anyone could find anything remotely related to me in this, I'll fuck off, delete my Twitter account. So I posted a video, then I just like fucked off for a couple months. And after 3 months, was just like, damn, I love media. I got to stream again. And so, but if I'm going to stream again, I have to take this thing really seriously. And so my roommate, Malcolm, who was working with D-Gods at the time, sort of stopped working at D-Gods. And he'd been like a pseudo manager for me. Like, he would just help. Like, if I had a deal or like a inbound or whatever, he would get on calls with me. He was just like kind of like really, he would help manage clippers. Like, he was just like really helping me do a lot of hands-on stuff. And I said, dude, let's turn this into a company and like take this really seriously and like come own half of this thing and be a co-founder with me. And he's like, let's do it. And so basically in June, I restarted the stream, but very seriously, like on a schedule. Here we have a couple employees. Now it's turned into like we have 2 researchers full time, Tulip King and DNAP, who are awesome. We have like 6 contractors, producer, designer, a ton of clippers. It's sort of like turned into a full-fledged company. But I was like, if I'm going to do this again, it just can't be this wishy-washy. I want to take this very seriously. I want to level up professionally. I want to I want to run this thing like a proper company. I want to cover more niches, more assets, and I want to run this like a proper machine. And so basically since like late June, right around where Pump launched, we've been Monday through Friday, 5 days a week, every day.
You stream 5 days a week?
5 days a week, yeah, Monday through Friday.
Yeah. Interesting. Well, I think that just going back for a second to that story, I didn't know all the context there. I didn't know you'd taken like a sabbatical from like public scorn.
Yeah.
I think so. I'd obviously heard like the LA Vape Cabal. My interpretation, so again, this is just looking from the outside because I knew some of you guys, but it's like the whole meme coin thing. It's why it's interesting talking to you probably. I don't know if this is my typical, podcast, but it's interesting because it's like a different side of crypto. And you came up in a different side and also at like a slightly different time. And that actually changed a lot in terms of I was very much 2020, 2021, like DeFi cycle. And so my view of media and my view of what people wanted to hear, what people wanted to see was bankless. Like, that sounds like hilarious now. Right. But at the time people wanted to hear about the burn and like the pivot to ultrasound money. Like this is what was captivating people, and the times have obviously changed significantly. But I think that mostly what with regards to like everything that transpired, I suppose. I would just extend this to Solana in general, right? Because I didn't have as much in the weeds context, but like this applied to Pumped Out Fun and all this stuff. Was that I think a lot of people, it's hard for people on Twitter to, first of all, when people lose money, they want somebody to blame. That's like we know that's nothing novel. But what I think is interesting about crypto is that there is a lot of these coins have low enough market caps, and a lot of these assets. Now, granted, we're seeing the president manipulate public markets, so like I wouldn't say that this is anything unique to crypto, but there is this there's this thing that people don't always know how to kind of internalize, which is like, is this person really good at trading a narrative, or are they the ones creating the narrative?
The narrative, yeah.
And that's like something that will always be the case in lower market cap assets. And like, I don't fault anybody for posting tickers, right? But there is sort of some social stigma at like a 5K market cap, right? It's like, okay, come on, right? And then you move up to 100K and it's like, well, how big is your account? Okay, come on. And this can go up like, it sort of scales linearly. But the fact of the matter is, this is so much of what happened and why I just think there's like a very bad image around trading in general and then crypto Twitter in general. And also why, going back, like now tying this into what we talked about early on, which was like, we were talking about Ben Pasternak, and like, I mean, again, I wasn't trying to make money off this. So I was looking from the outside. I was like, guys, this is
like, what is this shit?
This is a complete circus. This is not going to end well. This kid has no idea what he's doing. I did listen to him on your stream. That's like one of the streams I listened to.
My second stream back.
Okay, so, and I'm like, guys, this kid is I don't want to get sued, but it was pretty obvious what was going on, right? Like, this guy's a tourist. He's gonna take as much money out of this ecosystem and leave. This is something that to me has just been like where we were talking about, could something come out of crypto? Like, could internet capital markets come into fruition? And I just don't know. There's such extreme kind of like adverse selection now with like the founders who do want to use crypto as a way for capital formation, that it's like, if you're building a real AI company, you could source liquidity at like, you could source debt at a much cheaper rate, likely on chain, right? We see people accepting 2% on stables on Aave. I'm sure you could, your cost of equity, your cost of debt should be way lower when there's just like aggregated liquidity source like crypto. But there's such like an extremely bad reputation now that the assumption is that somebody's only here to scam. And it's hard to see, unfortunately, how that kind of, we cross that chasm out of that. But I don't know.
I didn't cover this at all. Probably a bunch of things I'm going to be like, fuck, I wish we talked about this. That's probably the biggest takeaway from the Believe fiasco is, why are you launching a Believe token? Right? It's like the bad news bears or the founders, right? It's like, if we're getting the rejects, right? It's like the only reason you're launching it. This is again, unfortunately, stigma that, or just, I don't know, a structural problem with crypto is like, why are you launching a crypto token? Because if you really are building something novel and important and it works and people like it, it's going to be huge, then you'll just go raise some A16T. You'll just go.
Well, also, like, just a side note, which this is, that you're spot on about that. There's also one other side of this, which is a lot of founders who are like really god tier founders. If you talk to them, they want to keep as much of their own company as they can. They want to own because they believe in what they're building. And this is a concept in crypto that seems wild, right? Like, if you go back and look, this isn't something new. You go back to ICOs or even go to DeFi Summer. A lot of these guys who built these, transformational DeFi applications, the idea that they would want to get rid of
is insane.
And you see Zuckerberg, like, this guy is one of the richest men in the world, and he owns like a very large chunk of Facebook still to this day, right? And those are the types of things that you're right, exactly. Like, it's hard to envision where, why are you launching a token? Remember this Sam Lesson guy? What was his thing called?
Jelly.
And that, man, come on.
300 mil in an hour.
And then what is it worth now? Like 2 million.
The
It's
only
really
thing
kind
it was good for was like fucking HLP on that exploit.
exactly.
Remember that? Yeah.
It was used to manipulate like the so that man. Yeah, the stuff that we observed definitely at least no traditional market manipulation is going to surprise us at this point, right?
Yo, this is, by the way, the crypto education is my favorite take of all time. Is we're watching what's happening in oil and just trad markets, and I'm following these stock guys now, and they're like, they're posting fake headlines, and they're manipulating, and I'm like, guys,
That's all we do.
this is what we do: is post fake headlines and fuck each other and try to.
We don't know what
a
real headline is.
No, you don't. Yeah, what? It's like we trade assets that make no money that are worth billions of dollars. I also think I think one of the things that actually like stunted my trading journey is this taboo nature of posting trades. And I used to be I used to be like the most. I will never speak about anything that I'm in. I've gotten a little bit more lenient about it because I just think it's gotten to the point where like nobody's serious post signal or their own trades or their own opinions on CT. And I'm kind of like, fuck it. I would like to do it on bigger cap stuff. Memes never. I've never posted a meme or anything. But I sort of, as I'm paying attention to stocks more, I'm watching this, this world of activist investing. And it is relatively taboo. But in a way, I think some of these guys, Bill Ackman goes short billions of dollars the entire market in airline stocks. Then he goes on CNBC on, March of 2020. He's crying about how COVID is going to destroy the world. And then the market dumps 20%, then he closes and he walks away with $5 billion.
He made an entire documentary about Herbalife.
You go. It's like, is he like what's the line? What's the market cap? What's the size of your account? Michael Burry does this all the time, right? He goes short Palantir, then he writes a thing about how Alex Karp is gonna the Antichrist and Palantir is destroying the world. And so I think it's a game that gets played at every level. I think it gets really nasty. It's scummy when you're trading like inherently nihilistic assets. That's where I think people take a really just feels gross, right? On memes, because it's like it has no catalyst other than the next marginal shiller, really. Yeah. And so it feels better, I think, when you're, Irenic Capital comes out, they buy 3% of Snapchat, then they post a presentation as to how Snap will 8x with these like 10 principles or whatever. And you're like, okay, Snapchat is worth this much, it makes this much money, it has a founder, it has like at least it has some level of fundamentals that you could come back on and make sense of. But I think it's really hard to, or if anything, impossible to justify why a meme coin is worth a certain price. There's no reason other than momentum, narrative, attention, fundamentals. And then I think the last thing I've deducted from it is you never want to be the reason it's going up or down. That's where I think would be the cleanest.
That's the
you don't want to be the catalyst.
Yeah, and I think that's a fair take. And I mean, you're right. Like Bill Ackman, and this has been the case with traditional markets for quite some time. I think I've always mainly seen it in crypto as a function of market cap, right? Like if 500,000 per follower account is tweeting something that has 100,000 market cap, it's like very, very, it's like predatory. It's, and I think most people agree with that. Although the meme coin like mania did change that. What used to be considered, very nefarious is now fairly normalized. But like the market also, our market adapts to that and starts not buying James Wynn's ape.
Yep.
Like he did this. James Wynn did a pre-sale and raised like $4,000 yesterday. This guy had. Yeah. I just saw it on Twitter like 30 minutes ago, so don't read anything into this. But like, this guy had almost $1 billion position open at one point, and he was up like what? He was up like 200 million, or am I making this up?
No, maybe more.
Yeah, so he was up like an obscene amount, and now he's on his fifth or whatever meme coin, and he raised. So like my point is that markets do adapt to this, right? So like that whole notion of back in 2020, like if you posted a ticker, it was like considered the most insidious thing imaginable, and now it's like so normalized. But I think again, like the market is learning, and also the market doesn't really want to trade crypto at all anymore for that
It
matter.
doesn't
So
want you
it's like
right
we're
now.
on to oil, and like
Yep.
I don't think you posting your oil long. I don't know this, but I don't think that's really influencing the price of oil. I mean, if it is, then like you're god tier at this point,
Yeah,
right?
nah, it'd be like be probably Bitcoin with a long. It not happening.
Yeah.
One point I make on the James Wynn thing as well is that was actually a very pivotal moment for how I just thought about crypto. When I mean there was like a 3 week period where I think the only word you could use to describe James Wynn in the order books was a spectacle. It was cinema, right? Every time he flips long, short, whatever, it's like everybody was watching. And I just deducted from that maybe the killer use case of crypto is just speculation, and speculation is the product in many assets. And people just want to watch speculation. They want to watch speculation. They want to speculate,
Yeah.
and it like everyone. I always thought the FOMO app was very interesting because Base for a while had been trying to like, okay, let's like rebuild TikTok, but let people make money on TikTok. And I'm like, guys, people on TikTok already make money on TikTok, right? If you're popping on TikTok, you make money on TikTok. Or it's like, let's recreate Twitch, but give them more money. I'm like, guys, you're popping on Twitch. And like I'm popping on say I'm popping on Twitch. I work with Polymarket and Phantom. I'm already making money from Twitch, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
But then some other people have looked at like Hyperliquid in a way, Legend.trade, who I'm an angel in, some of these platforms. I've been like, okay, let's take trading and let's just say that trading is the product and let's just like add social on top. Polymarket's done a good job of this, like with the comments and the social side, right? Let's add social on top. Trading's the product, not social, the product, add trading. It's like, no, trading's the product, add social. And Phantom's trying to do this with usernames. They're doing some cool stuff. Because crypto trading is on chain, is like inherently social, right? I think the first iteration of this was Axiom with wallet tracking. And then all of a sudden you're watching, you know every coin that everybody's in. Did wallet tracking ruin the trenches? Whatever. Maybe not. But I've sort of like trading is the product. And the James Wynn thing made me think about this a little bit differently, where it was like, man, it was absolute. It was must see TV. How was James Wynn positioned for 3 weeks? It was like the craziest run ever. And then you think back to like Roaring Kitty GME, right? It was kind of like almost before my time. I wasn't aware of what was going on. And you got to just think that type of outcome will happen again and will probably be bigger, or at least that style will happen more often. There was a quick little mini run of Beyond Meat relatively recently, 4 months ago, 5 months ago. And there was like a Roaring Kitty figure, and then he fucking showed Eatzilla and it was over. But I started to look at like, because I always thought like, why is crypto Twitter so addictive? Like, why can you never leave crypto Twitter? And I think this like speculation as a product idea is a very interesting one because it's so compelling and people are so pulled to it.
Yeah, I mean, I think that certainly has a future. I don't know how it manifests. I also am always like just what I was saying before. I mean, I do wonder about like the half-life of these things and just how long, the casino can stay open and how quickly we pivot to new casinos every week. But we'll see. I mean, like, I think in general, people want to gamble, right? And like, this is now the, defining thesis of the past 10 years in financial markets is that retail wants to gamble. Okay. Last question. Are you bullish about anything in crypto specifically? Like,
okay.
we've kind of covered that you are, you've really, I would say, crossed this chasm well with covering just markets in general and really bringing like a young approach. I mean, you don't have to name crypto tokens, but if you want, or just
I'll give you some fucking
big ideas, you drop some CAs.
So this is what I think is first time in my life, like I just like identify myself as a crypto person for 5 years. Like, I don't know, just like a crypto guy. And I think for the first time in my life, I like accepted like, damn, maybe like that was it. And I think crypto got about as spiritually broken as it could have possibly gotten. Like, I don't know. I was here for FTX. I wasn't in the same position, but I remember FTX very, very, very vividly. And then I remember, I don't know, 1010. And it just felt like a different level of like, I don't even know why this is happening. I'm almost happy it's happening so I could fuck off. Like a lot of that. And so crypto goes through this, about as bad as it can get. And then I'm not saying we've come out on the other side, but I think what's happened from price wipeout and personality wipeout, spiritual wipeout, is that a couple crypto use cases have risen to the top and proven to themselves like we matter, right? And I think without Hyperliquid, this place is just a disaster, goes down. But perps, on-chain perps, Hyperliquid has proven itself as just like the superior trading venue. I've been trying to trade options a little bit, just fucking around. It's just like, I want to go long short perps. It's just a better product. It's a better vehicle for what retail is trying to accomplish. And so Hyperliquid perps is obviously the golden child. I'm a Bitcoin maxi through and through. Like, I just hold a ton of Bitcoin. I love Bitcoin. I will forever love Bitcoin. I think every day that some fuckery happens in the world, things get manipulated more, they print more money, Epstein files comes out, Iran war, like every bad thing that happens in the world, you're just like, wow, Bitcoin, thank God it exists. Bitcoin maxi through and through, but we've known that. Obviously the stable coin thing, but I won't really speak on it that much because I haven't made any money from it. So it's like, it's tough. You know, it's almost a black pill for crypto that the only reason it exists is to tokenize TradFi assets. So we
yeah, but also the thing about like, even if so owning Tether equity would like, okay, if you'd owned it for 5 years now, that would be incredible. But the thing too is even with stables and tokenizing TradFi, like we were talking about how we're not going to make money from that because it's like private companies just, you know, owning the rails or whatever. But more than that is like, it's also just a race to the bottom. Like the margins are extremely, like payments
that protocol thesis, right? Like payments is a race to bottom. Yeah.
So yeah, I'm not like so
great take, by the way. It is. It's a great take.
Well, so in any case, like I'm not so, you know, jarred for example that I'm not, you know, owning the rails because I don't think the rails are that profitable to begin with. So like I'm with you with regards to Bitcoin, and then we'll see maybe a few other things, but
and
go
then, on. Agentic payments, right? Just wait, bro. Just wait till you get that's one of your best tweets ever, by the way.
Yeah.
It's one of your best tweets ever. And then, okay, you're a lot more technical than me, so you might clown me on this, but I think the other narrative that's like solidified itself as important is the privacy thing. And the crypto can make inherently private tokens, private money, which is something that isn't Zcash, isn't Monero, I don't really know. But it's something that the world, I think, inherently needs. And similar to Bitcoin, has sort of showed it's the reason for it to exist. It's way too small, right? I think the market cap of Zcash and Monero is 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 billion. But I think the privacy thing has shown itself is very important. And so you take Bitcoin, cool. You take on-chain perps, that is, you know, and Hyperliquid, that is very important. Take the privacy as a narrative that's like made it through. And then whatever you get left of the meme coin stuff, and then this idea of internet capital markets. Does Clarity solve it? I don't think so. But I think perps, privacy, Bitcoin alone is enough to be like a very important underbelly of finance, and then also a vehicle to get a ton of liquidity on chain. And then what happens after that is relatively unclear to me, but I'm sort of like okay with where we have how this has played out, if I'm being completely honest.
Yeah.
So I actually feel optimistic about crypto for the first time in a long time. I really do. Even if that sounded brutal and that was just like a terrible crypto show.
No.
I find myself feeling optimistic for the first time in a long time. I find myself being like, I'm never going to use DeFi ever again after what's happened with, I guess Drift isn't technically DeFi. They just had a fucking multi-sig social engineering, but the Mythos stuff is kind of scary on DeFi exploits. For sure. I don't know if you have take. It's scary though. Like I don't know. I just fucking.
I money. Have taken all of my most all of my money off chain. Like it's
terrifying. It's horrifying.
There's not really a lot of. So what we're gonna get back from saying this, you and I, is that you guys are privileged that you live in the United States and you have well-run capital markets, and that's what with banking systems that respect the rule of law. And at some point, like, I'm not apologizing for that anymore. It's like, and also the money in the world. See, this is one I'm about to go up on a diatribe.
Go.
One thing that crypto tried to do early on was to like in very short terms, they tried to build a financial system for poor people. And Hyperliquid did not. Hyperliquid realized that 10 whales are worth 1 million third world country people, right? And what crypto tried to do was to build this financial system. And there's really, so the history of capital markets is such that where there is money and the rule of law and people with innovative and brilliant ideas, good capital markets form around those. So I think it is noble, and also it is worthwhile goal to create a financial system that anybody in the world can opt into. I don't think that that should necessarily be investable, right? Because like a lot of these things are a race to the bottom, and a lot of these things just don't print money because you are working with a segment of people that don't have a lot of money. Hyperliquid realized that a small number of people generate the vast majority of fees, be it market makers, whales, whoever, and you should optimize for the people who are rich. And mostly these capital markets, right, like do form around it's like a positive feedback loop, right? So all this is to say that I'm very much like directionally in agreement there, and I'm not like going to apologize. You know what I mean? It's like one of these things where like, oh, you're so
really heard it.
You're so privileged to have this, and it's like, yes, and we are also privileged to create like all of the most brilliant innovators in the United States, right? Like this is like all of the world's most successful companies come out of this nation, right? Like, and that's why we have great capital markets.
That was an awesome take. I haven't really heard it framed like that.
Get your boy to clip that.
Jack, that was actually a sick take. I haven't really heard that framed like that.
Well, I mean, you see it. I came up a little bit earlier than you, right? And I saw a lot of people trying to build DAOs for Africa. Yes. And I'm not trying to be like so classist right now, but like,
of course.
There is a point where you realize like, okay, the ideologue in me thinks that is a noble cause, and also there are countries around the world that don't have what we have, and there may be brilliant people there that can innovate and can create something of value, and a way for them to raise money might be, you know, through crypto or through rails that don't have to go through their draconian government or whatever it may be. But the reality is like that you sort of need rich people first and foremost, and it expands from there. And a lot of early crypto was building for a segment, at least in terms of companies that make money, in terms of sustainability or generating revenue. This was a secondary or maybe not a thought at all. And so, you know, I came from, like I said, building, you know, DAOs for third worlders and micro payments for, you know, South Americans. And it's like, you know, that's really thoughtful of you to think along these lines. But with that said, like, you're not going to make a lot of money, and you're not going to be able to build a sustainable business like that if that's your intention, which it wasn't always. But if that is your intention, like that, this may not be the way to go about it. And yeah, so that was, like I said, I was going to go on a diatribe. I kind of did.
That was beautiful. I think it's a sick take. Yeah, honestly, thanks.
Dude, no problem. All right. Well, this has been awesome. I'm glad. Yeah, I think you've done something very impressive. Like, you know, I see you interviewing Andrew Yang and like having all these, you know, Peter Schiff on. I'll have to have you back on. We'll just talk about you and Peter Schiff exclusively. But I think, you know, you're kind of probably the future of you know, media and markets, and like I think you've tapped into that really well. So I think this has been an interesting conversation. And I think,
can I ask you a sign off?
Yeah.
Do you have any advice for like the media side and like where this goes and like how to play it?
Dude, I'm also a guy who like thought he needed a podcast, right? As is the case with every, you know, white guy in the world is like, oh, I need a podcast. Like, so I don't have any necessarily, you know, unique takes. I've been fortunate that I just get to talk to people that I enjoy, and I don't really have, I mean, I think being authentic, and it seems like you're authentic, is what people want for the most part. And like I said, what you've done in terms of learning in the open has been funny for me to watch, because there was a lot of things that I learned just slightly before you, not like I'm not obviously much older than you, right? I'm 3 or 4 years older than you. I'm like, oh, I have this same thought, 2 years ago when I paid my first tax bill, and it was like, man, like there seems like kind of a mismatch here, right? Like this isn't. So I think that people appreciate that, and it'll be interesting to see. I do wonder, like for what I did, a lot of it was kind of trolling about this mechanism design stuff and a lot of these first principles, if you will, that crypto people held early on, and that I just, I didn't always believe in. And I do think a lot more of the market has kind of realized this type of stuff. So I don't know how interesting it is to people anymore, right? Like for example, it's not like anybody cares to troll about like L2s or the line. Like at this point, like no one
over it. Yeah.
Exactly. And so, but it's been interesting to watch like the progression. So I think that, this has been a great conversation, because it's like kind of the new Jenny, if you will, as you guys said, of the crypto cohort. So, thanks for coming on. I thought it was fantastic.
Fuck yeah, Gort, you're the man, dude. I'm a huge fan. I'm honored, genuinely. You brought me on.